Hello everyone, welcome back to the homestead. So today we're back out here in the garden again, trying to get it planted this spring, and we're going to be planting corn and green beans today in this woven weed fabric that we have down on our garden. So corn and green beans are going to require probably a lot tighter spacing and a lot smaller hole than what we previously made when we did, like our peppers and tomato plants. So today we're not going to be using that weed burning torch. We're going to be using a small handheld torch today. And so I think green beans, I need to do like probably a 2-inch spacing between my green bean plants. It's going to be a pretty tight spacing. So I've made up a jig to help make holes in the fabric more consistent. So I don't know if this is going to work or not, but what I've done is I've taken a scrap piece of plywood, I've drilled 1.5-inch holes, and each one of these is 2 inches apart from each other and then 2 inches the other direction. So it's a zigzag pattern, but basically I got a rough 2-inch spacing there. So I'm going to try to use this. I'm going to use the torch to burn down through the hole, and hopefully I can make nice little neat holes, a nice pattern in the fabric. So I don't know if I haven't tried it yet, of course. I don't know if this is going to work or not. So the plastic may melt, it may stick to the piece of wood. We'll just have to wait and see. So I'm going to go ahead and start kind of laying out the green beans, trying this jig out. Hopefully I can make some nice even holes in the fabric and it works out fine. So we're just going to take our pattern, center it up on the middle of the row. Of course, anytime there's a wind, that never goes well with one of these torches. So here we go. Okay. See what happens. See if it's stuck. No? So they're not perfect holes, but it made nice holes. So now, basically, move down. Looks like I just put about the end of the board on this hole right here. Center it back up. And there we go. Yeah, I think that's going to work. So I'm planting contender green beans from Baker Creek. And all I'm going to do is I've got an old arrow and I'm just going to make a hole in the ground and plant my green beans in there. So if you don't have, you could use like a dowel rod or something like that, I'm sure. Just need something to be able to push into this ground. And with this fabric, that ground's nice and moist, easy to make holes in. Well, I think that turned out pretty good. I've got all the green beans planted in the fabric. I did burn too many holes for the amount of green beans that I had, so I had to start skipping about every 4th hole and not planting that one just to get the green beans to go to the end of the row. Other than that, I think I had no issues whatsoever. Using that plywood and that small torch to make the holes went well. Didn't stick to the wood. It makes a fairly good hole pattern. It's not like a perfect circle. Some get elongated and stuff, but I think it worked well. Really low chance that you're going to accidentally like melt a big hole in the fabric like I did with that big weed burner. And this small torch is probably more economical. It's a lot easier to just handle. And I think even with that kneeling pad and that little small torch, I was probably make holes almost just as quick as I did with the weed burner. So definitely like this method. So now it's time to go and start planting some sweet corn. So I've got Ambrosia sweet corn, and I've got some Candy King sweet corn to plant. So what I'm going to do is I got another jig, very similar, scrap piece of plywood, but these are 2-inch holes. I made 2-inch holes just because a corn stalk does get fairly big. And this is a 4-inch pattern. Now I could easily take that one back there and just use one side of it, and I'd have a 4-inch pattern as well. Or you could skip holes. I could use this. I could skip holes and make an 8-inch pattern very easily, just because that little bitty torch is so easy to control. So yeah, I think these are going to work out great. So let's go ahead and start planting the corn. So this is our Ambrosia sweet corn. I bought this from Jung Seed. And I buy a lot of my pepper seeds from Jung Seed for my sweet bell pepper plants. So just going to use the same method to plant these. Put seed in. Just going to put one in each hole. And I'll just kind of push the dirt in over the hole with my finger. So now, since I'm only putting one seed in each hole, you really can tell how good the germination rate is of the seeds that you have, that's for sure. So I ended up getting 2 half rows of sweet corn planted, and I probably won't plant any more corn today. I'll come back in a couple weeks, plant another half row of sweet corn, and then probably another couple weeks after that I'll plant another half row. That way we continually get sweet corn throughout the summer instead of just one big batch. So this right here, you know, using this to burn the holes in the fabric actually works really well. So I'm going to try it on a raised bed. So I've got one of our raised beds back here. I want to put a piece of fabric down in it and then use this to make more of like a grid pattern and plant our onions in that raised bed. So let's go ahead and go over to the raised bed and try this out. So once again, using this wooden pattern worked out great. I've got a nice grid pattern laid out on this fabric. I think I put 105 holes in here in just a couple minutes. And yeah, I think this is working out really good. So now I've got a bunch of onion plants here. I'm going to go ahead and get these planted in this raised bed. So today was a beautiful day to work in the garden. It was, I think it was a high of about 55 today. It was just a beautiful day. And I've got most of the garden planted now, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. This raised bed back here, those lettuce plants are going to be coming out here soon. I'll probably plant that whole bed full of onions as well. I want to have 2 full raised beds of onions. And then I've got a small raised bed over here that I'm probably going to put some garlic in. And I'll probably do that same thing with the weed fabric. I found a little partial roll left over from last year. So I probably got enough on that to do the exact same thing that we just did and use that weed barrier in the raised beds. Other than that, I think I've got a little bit more sweet corn to plant. I've got some cucumbers to plant, but that's about it. I think the majority of the garden's done, and finally I'll probably start moving on to something else. I still do need to make the gates for the garden. Hopefully I'll do that here soon. I've got a bunch of 2x4s left over from the fence build, so I was thinking I'll probably try to use those to make a pretty simple gate for the walk-in gates. But yeah, feeling great about the garden. It's almost time just to sit back and watch it grow. So anyway, I think that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.